Now the template that we talk about, that. You already must have seen the Excel template, which we usually fill out. So that Excel templates, it's like given for the HR operations team or the non-technical people, so that it is easy to fill the data in. That, row by row, data for each and every column you fill in. Now that data when you attach that file to EIB. That data gets consumed by the interface. The EIB interface then gets converted to an XML row by row. So it processes each rows from the file. Then converts that file into that. Converts that row into an XML format which is required by the web service. And then for example, which we'll be discussing, the request one-time payment. So I think it's not part of this. I think it should be part of the compensation. So don't worry that it will take time, that you will not be getting a mastery that which web service goes into which category. You can just make a rough guess, and then you think it is not there. Then try and find another folder which you think that it might be fitting in there. Here it is. So in the compensation category I have found a web server request, one-time payment, which will be part of the discussion. So what this web service does? This operation allows the requesting of one-time payment for an employee via the request one-time payment business process. So I've just clicked on it. So now you are in the compensation and this is the version which is there. So Workday supports the backtracking as well for the previous versions. Right now Workday is going with 39.2 or 40 versions. But the web services which are there since on the 30 version, 25, 28 version are still running fine. But later on, by the time Workday also deprecates the particular web services and improves features in the new web services. So first thing is that if you're still using the old web service, you will not be able to get any new features, but Workday will support the backtracking. Whatever operations you are doing, you'll still be able to do it. But if you want to utilize the new features, then you'll have to move to a new web service. And sometimes also for the very older web services. Workday kind of deprecates those web services versions as well. So then, it will give you a very advanced notice, sometimes months and years as well. I have seen that. It will give you a lot of time. Okay, that we are deprecating this at least 1 year release before they will at least give you that we are deprecating something in 2024, R1 or R2. So you have this much amount of time to move your integrations to a new and updated web service version. So these versions are kind of maintained by Workday due to the features, security, updates, operations, and the enhancements that Workday does. So inside the versions, then you go to the components. So you can find the compensation component from the 38th version, 30th version as well, wherein the architecture of the web service might be different if it is changed. You might find some of 1 or 2 fields not there in the previous version. Some of the new fields added in the new version. So that kind of this version works. So the request one-time payment and this web service. What it does is this web service, does the request one-time payment inserts? For the employees or workers. So if you go in here, so for the best understanding of inbound EIB. It's better that you know how the UI works. So you should understand how a UI is working. Then only you will be able to make a good understanding and relatable information from the EIB or the web service that how it is working. So for the inbound EIB, request one-time payment. If I just type the task, request one time, so request one-time payment. This is a task to trigger the request. One-time payment PP. So here you choose. Here. You have been asked to choose an effective date, that from what date you want your one-time payment to be effective. Then you choose the employee for which employee you want to perform this request one-time payment. So, since you are in the UI, you're able to choose these things, provide the effective date, provide the employee, and then you click OK and you enter the business process of one-time payment. You're already familiar with the business process architecture. So, depending on the business process here, you would ask for more information, which is required, not required, optional. So here you are being asked, for a reason which is not required, that what is the reason that you are giving a one-time payment to this employee or not. And then you add the one-time payment details. That is the plan, which is the mandatory, that by which plan you want to give a one-time payment to this employee. So there are a lot of one-time payment plans. We also check where are they configured, that which plan you want to see. And here you are able to choose the values from the UI, because they are selectable. Then you have a schedule payment date when you want this payment to be scheduled. Then you have an amount. By what amount do you want to pass this? And there is a checkbox send to payroll. So if this checkbox is checked, this payment is considered to be in the next payroll, whenever it is due. If you don't check this checkbox, this payment will be there in worker but will not be picked up for the payroll. Maybe just for the reporting purposes. It will be there. But payroll integrations will not pick up this one-time payment if this is not checked. Then all the tags are not required, kind of thing. So here you see, you have seen a layout. What all the information is needed to trigger a one-time payment using the UI. More or less the similar amount of information you need to pass to perform a one-time payment using the EIB inbound. Now, you know, for a single employee, it is better that I would come directly here. And even if there are 2, 3 employees, it would be better if I just come here and trigger the UI task. But when we move about more employees, 10, 20, 30, 50, and request one-time payment is like a most frequently used thing. Where organizations initiate the one-time payments a lot of time throughout the year. Through any bonuses or through any additional bonuses. Or kind of gift cards or any kind of award program. So this is mostly used and majority. There is a lot of population which gets involved in this. So it does not make sense to trigger them one by one. So this is the option which is left, to perform the EIB update. And for these kinds of things, since approvals are already taken care of behind the scenes via emails or something. So that when this BP is triggered, we kind of bypass all kinds of approvals. So that the approvals are not triggered and payments are usually inserted as it is. But if you seek approvals through the integration as well, it is possible. So this is the more or less information. Now if we go to the request one-time page, and so when we talk about inbound and outbound web services, so every web service has a request and response format. So for inbound web services, since you will be inserting a lot of information as part of the request, which will get consumed by Workday and uploaded back to whatever the BP it is being using. So usually for the request, kind of for inbound web services, the request format is little big, depending upon the type of operation that is being done through the web service. For outbound integrations, since outbound integration is only consumed, we are only consuming the data from those outbound integrations and fetching data from Workday. So in that case, request is comparatively small. Because maybe if you are fetching the data for a particular worker using the Get Workers web service, so maybe you just will pass employee ID and few other things which are required, and then you will get the data. Depending on the fields that you choose, you will get the data. So in that case, your request format will be very small, but your response will be very big depending on the size of the field that you are going to choose. But in the inbound web services, your request will be a little big, but as part of the response. So if I just click on the response will be quite short, because in the response you will just get an acknowledgement,